December 5, 1941. 9 kilometers east of Mazhevsk, on the ragged road that leads to Moscow. You are standing in a shallow ditch, the rim of your helmet rimmed with rime, breath catching in a throat that stings like broken glass. Snow falls in slow, obscene flakes that land and do not melt. The world is made of gray sky, gray trees, gray uniforms caked with the light dusting that one day becomes a crust. An Oberleutnant Lucas Weber, 32, his field gray overcoat buttoned wrong because his hands do not obey, squints down the road. At the head of his small Kampfgruppe, a string of Panzer IIIs and a solitary Panzer IV chugs like a herd of tired animals. The tanks are alive with noise and heat. You can see steam from their radiators when they move, but they do not move far. One by one, the engines cough and go dead. The first tank is a Panzer III. Its commander, Unteroffizier Karl Brenner, leaning from the hatch with an expression of something like disbelief. He taps the engine housing with a gloved fist and hears only a hollow note. The batteries, German-made, though not built for an eastern winter, have surrendered. The fuel lines have congealed into sugar syrup goo. A technician from the workshop unit, a broad, red-faced man called Hauptfeldwebel Otto Klein, curses in a voice like gravel. He has been through winters before, but not a winter that came this early and without warning. Guderian's radio report crackles in and out, an annoyed, clipped voice from a transmitter inside a command panzer saying, "Advance continues," even as the advance has stopped. Orders mean little when metal fails. The suspension ruts of the road are full of frozen slush. Tracks that yesterday chewed through mud now bite into a brittle, glassy surface that snaps and catches. Farther along the column, the 14th Company of the 237th Infantry Regiment stumbles from an orchard into an open field. Corporal Dieter craws, fingers half frozen, forces a pack strap straight. The men breathe with the rasp of half lungs. Their eyelashes are crusted. A rifle bulks in Schroeder's hands, a Mauser bolt that will not slide. He yanks the bolt back and it refuses. Grease turned to glue, small moving parts locked in place. The first casualties are not from bullets. A young Jeff Raider, Emil Novik, lies curled on the flank, one mitten missing. His lips are blue, his chest heaves shallowly and then not at all. Someone takes his wrist and finds a pulse that is a whisper. The medics, a pair of Felsenitits Jeffrate working under a frozen tarpaulin, have little to offer. Morphine and bandages do not fix frostbite. A nurse mutters the thin, naked truth. Not enough shelter, not enough fuel, not enough time. They wrap Emil in spare coats, but there is no heat left in the blood. The cold has gone into him. Weapons jam, radios die, rivets and bolts crack like brittle bones. The towed Kettenkrad at the rear has seized its sprocket. A half-ton of tracked wheel will not turn because mud, which should have held and thawed, instead froze into a flange of stone. Engineers summon grease cups and spare oil cans, but the standard lubricants the Wehrmacht carried are intended for Polish or French winters, not the Siberian teeth that bite now. Those lubricants harden. High above, a reconnaissance plane, a Fieseler Storch, drops low to make a report. The observer, Hauptmann Friedrich Lang, shivers in his open cockpit, eyes watering from the cold wind. On his map, little black crosses multiply. Men frozen on the road, tanks abandoned, supply lines severed by weather more determined than any partisan. Hitler wanted to take Moscow before winter. Hitler wanted a decisive blow to end the campaign. With each freezing degree, those aims feel more like a child's picture, colored in bright and wrong. At dusk, the shadows lengthen and the cold grows thicker, as if a second night has fallen. A young lieutenant named Franz Meyer, recently promoted and smelling faintly of borrowed soap, kneels on the hard earth beside a burned-out SD KFC and tries to start the engine with matches. The matches hiss and die. He looks up at the faces of his men. They are carved from old wood, lips pale, cheeks sunken. He feels his own fingers go numb and realizes that he cannot feel the grip of the pistol at his hip. Sound dwindles. The usual clatter of machinery is replaced by the thin whisper of wind and the small, private noises of men trying to be warm. The scratch of a boot, the gulping of breath, a muttered prayer. The landscape seems to be swallowing the column whole. Somewhere beyond the line of trees, a distant shout, Russian, becomes another sound that gets lost in the cold. Night settles completely now, not a gentle descent, but a sudden crushing weight of shadow and cold. Temperatures plunge past 30 degrees C, then 35 degrees C. The men no longer check their thermometers. The numbers mean nothing compared to the feeling of skin stiffening under cloth. Breath turns into crystals the moment it leaves the mouth. Oberleutnant Lucas Weber steps through the snow, boots cracking through the top crust with the sound of breaking pottery. He moves slowly, each step a negotiation with muscles that feel carved from wood. Around him, the Kampfgruppe huddles in small circles, men leaning into each other for warmth that never comes. The engines, the broken, frozen engines, sit like tombstones along the roadside. And then, somewhere in the tree line beyond the panzers, a sound cuts through the quiet. A single rifle shot. It echoes strangely in the freezing air, sharp and metallic, as though the trees themselves carried the sound from one trunk to the next. Weber's head snaps toward the noise. His breath comes faster, fog pulsing in front of his face. "Alarm!" he shouts, but the word carries weakly, a call swallowed by the cold. The men struggle to bring rifles up, to pull bolts back, to wipe frost from sights. Half the weapons refuse to obey. Kraus swears as his Mauser bolt stops halfway, frozen solid. He tries warming it with his bare hands, but his fingers burn instantly, blood slowing under the skin. Then the second shot comes closer. Unteroffizier Brenner drops into the snow behind the frozen track of his Panzer III. "Positions, schnell," he hisses. But fast is a word with no meaning anymore. In the forest ahead, dark shapes move. At first, Weber thinks they're shadows shifting tricks of the dim light. But then one stands still, fully visible, a Soviet infantryman in a padded telegraph coat, fur hat pulled low, rifle held steady. He doesn't shake. He doesn't shiver. He moves like a ghost accustomed to cold. The Russian fires. Schroeder collapses with a grunt, not from a chest wound, but because his legs gave out trying to dive for cover. He hits the ground hard, face first, snow filling his mouth. Meyer drags him behind the disabled half-track, whispering, stay with me," fingers trembling violently. More Russians appear, silhouettes at first, then figures emerging from the dark like predators from a den. They know the terrain, and they know the temperature is on their side. They fire quickly and relocate, disappearing behind twisted birch trees before German eyes can track their movement. A flare bursts overhead, German, casting an eerie green glow across the road. The sight is surreal. Lines of frozen tanks locked in place, German soldiers crouching behind machines that no longer protect them, breath rising in sharp green-lit clouds. Snowflakes fall like slow droplets of glass. The Soviets advance. A group of them, maybe a squad, maybe more, moves between the trees with almost elegant precision. Their boots crunch softly, nothing like the heavy stomps of the freezing Germans. They spread out, rifles at the ready, bayonets glinting. Weber attempts to rally his men. Hold the line, fire, but fire becomes an absurdity. A machine gun crew frantically works the MG-34 mounted on the Panzer's side. The gunner, Jonas Richter, pulls the charging handle once, twice. On the third try, the metal shrieks and stops completely. Frozen, locked, dead. A machine gun crew frantically works the MG-34 mounted on the Panzer's side. The gunner, Jonas Richter, pulls the charging handle once, twice. On the third try, the metal shrieks and stops completely. Frozen, locked, dead. Tracer rounds slice through the darkness, bright arcs bouncing off the Panzer's armor. One German soldier, a young private named Albrecht, stands too slowly. A round catches him in the shoulder. He spins and drops into the snow with a cry that dies instantly in the air. Weber fires his pistol once, twice, but the slide barely cycles, weak in the cold. Everything feels slow, thick, distant. Meyer grips his frozen pistol with numb hands, whispers, "Why won't you work?" Then ducks as bullets chew through the wooden cart beside him. The Soviets close the distance. They know this weather, they train in it, live in it, survive it. The Germans do not. A final flare goes up, this time Soviet, illuminating the battlefield with a harsh red glow. In that blood-colored light, Weber finally sees the truth with crystal clarity. The Wehrmacht is not fighting a human enemy tonight. They're fighting winter, and winter has chosen sides. Dawn breaks over frozen wrecks and stiffened soldiers. Tanks sit like tombstones, rifles jammed, men huddled in impossible cold. Only the wind moves, slicing through fur-lined coats, whispering a brutal truth. The Soviets are gone, but their presence lingers. Weber looks across the shattered line. Half the men are down, engines dead, hope frozen solid. He shivers, fingers numb, realizing the terrible reality. The Wehrmacht can fight men, but it cannot fight winter. Winter has won.